Alright guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about this flashlight right here, and this is going to be a relatively quick video. I have actually reviewed one of Cyansky's other flashlights before, and it was great quality wise and everything. Never had a problem with it, but it was an IR flashlight. This is a white light. So they actually asked if I wanted to do another review, and I requested this light specifically. They have another model that's more for hunting, and it has red, green, and white lights. I don't hunt, so I don't have any real interest in that, but if you do, check it out. I wanted this one specifically because it's pretty much the exact same body style as this other one that I have, and this one right here is an IR light. Here you can see the model number. This one's an IR light only, so hopefully you can see it on there. You can see, yep, little pink light right there. So this one is an IR light that's dedicated, and this one is almost the exact same as that one. In fact, actually, you can unscrew the head from this one and put it on this one's body, and unscrew the head from this one, put it on the other body. So the bodies and the tail cap are exactly the same. It's just the head that's different. And on this one, the head, the difference is being one, it's a white light. Two, it has this little switch right here, which will allow you, so here's a low mode. You can turn it, click it, get it next, click it, get it brighter, click it, and then it's at its brightest settings. Or if you hold it down, it'll strobe. So you're welcome for that. I like this flashlight quite a bit. I will say it's a little larger than most standard rifle lights. For example, for size comparison, here is a Streamlight. This is the ProTac, the HL model. It's 1,000 lumens. You can see there's a model right there. And just for a size comparison, they're almost the same length. You can see this one's probably about maybe an inch longer total. The body size is, I would say, pretty much comparable. This one's a little bit fatter. So side by side, you can kind of see one's a little bit taller than the other. Again, it's not that big of a practical difference. It is a little bit heavier, so this one with the mount and everything on there weighs about the same. Now, granted, once you put the mount on this one, it's going to weigh a little bit more, obviously. So you could use this. You don't have to use it as a rifle light. If you want to use it for, say, hunting or something like that, I mean, you could. If it's kind of big to carry in your pocket, you could put it in your pocket if you want to. They actually include in here a little belt loop pouch that you can put on your belt if you want to carry around. I don't have any interest in that, but it's in there. It's included if you want. It also comes with a lanyard. So this light specifically, getting into the details, it's 1600 lumens, which is why I was interested in reviewing it. So a lot of times you'll get lights, say from like Olight or someone else, that are, super bright. They'll be 2000 lumens, 3000 lumens or something like that, but they're never really focused, and they don't have a high candela. So what that means is you get a really good floodlight, but it pretty much is terrible at going distances. So with this light right here, this is 1000 lumen light, and I don't remember the candela on it. You'll have to look it up. I don't remember top of my head, but the candela is pretty decent on here, but it's still not as focused as some other lights. This one here is incredibly focused. So if I just shine this on this, hopefully this will give you a good representation. I do have some video footage as well, so you can see how this one has kind of a light flood area around it, but all the hot spot is in one specific location. This one kind of bleeds. You can see it gets kind of flood over here, then it gets a little bit more focus, and then you get more and more as you get to the hot spot. So with this one though, it's pretty much hot spot and then flood. There's no like gradual increase. It's all very, very focused. So what that means is it has a high candela, which means it's going to be good at distance. So a lot of the lights, and you can tell with this one specifically, a lot of the lights that don't have high candela have a really shallow bezel, and then they also have like kind of that orange peel kind of mirrored lens on the inside, versus this one just has your standard lens, as you can see, and it's actually fairly deep in there, which makes the head larger. So that's a negative, I guess, but the positive to that is this light will throw light incredibly far, which is what I was interested in. So side note, if you want to mount this to a rifle, you'll have to buy their proprietary mount, or you can buy a mount, like this one, a 1-inch, and just basically wrap the flashlight in duct tape or Gorilla Tape or something like that. That'll work too. But just know it's a little bit smaller of a body than a 1-inch. So you can also get a tape switch for this light. Again, I use this in conjunction with this light right here, the IR light, but it'll work with either or. Test it out, it works just fine. All it does is it threads on the end, and you have a click button here, and then you have a momentary right here, and mounted on the rail. You can see the rail actually fits pretty much flush up here. So it's not quite as tall as you would think it is. It just looks a little taller than it is. It's taller than on some tape switches, obviously, because this one's metal. It's not just, you know, rubber or plastic with a squishy button on the inside. This actually has a housing, so it's going to be taller, but because of that, it's going to be a little bit more rugged. So before I give you a comparison or to show you kind of what it looks like outside, I'll just go over the details here real quick. So you can see 1600 lumens, there's the model. It does have a waterproof rating, so that's good. It's waterproof down to 2 meters. It says it has a 600 meter beam distance, and I would believe that if it's incredibly dark outside, you know, there's no moonlight, it's overcast, and there's no light pollution around. If it was completely dark, yeah, it would probably go 600 meters. In most realistic situations, you're looking at 3, maybe 400 probably at the most. Once you have, you know, you got the moon, you have light pollution from the city or whatever. So realistically, I would say it's about a 300 yard light. And when I say that, I mean you can actually identify things at 300 yards. You'll be able to see that something's there farther out, but for me, the distance I would say it's usable at is what you can actually identify something at. So for me, 300 yards, and I'll go ahead and I guess insert some video footage here so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm walking down the bike trail. You can see it's not completely dark yet, but it's pretty close. And here is the light. You can see those trees down there are about 150, maybe 200 yards away. So you can see kind of on there what it looks like. So here's the field. The trees down there are about 300 yards away. Not those right there. Those are about 100, 125. Farther down, I don't know if you can see the trees on there or not, but those trees are about 200 yards away. And if you can see the trees way down there at the end, maybe you can't, but this does light them up to my eyes, just not super well, but they're about 300 yards away. So this is probably at most 300 yards would be about how effective it is. You can see it has a very tight beam, and it has a very specific flood pattern. And something I just noticed is, maybe you'll see them, maybe you won't. There's deer right there, deer right there, deer right there. And they're roughly 250 yards out. So I could easily identify those. So yeah, it's about a 300 yard light. Alright, so here's another. Here's my dog going for a walk. And those trees, again, are about 100 yards out. So that gives you a general idea of how bright this light is. Alright, just a little comparison. This is the Streamlight Macro Stream. I believe it's 500 lumens. It's my EDC. You can kind of see how well it illuminates this bridge, but you can't really see to the other side of the bridge even with the naked eye. Right, and here is the Cyansky. Here's the light right here. You can see it illuminates all the way past, all the way to the curve up there on the other side of the bike trail, farther down where it starts covering. So you can see it's a much tighter beam. Alright, to give you an idea how bright this flashlight is, again, this is going to be the Streamlight. This is the Macro Stream. I believe it's 500 lumens. It's a little my EDC light. So you can see it's more flood, it's not super focused. It's pretty bright. That shed is about at, I'd say 25 yards from here. So you can see the wood line just barely back there. Again, this one does not have a lot of candela, it's more flood. It's 500 lumens. Here is the Streamlight, the rail mount. I believe it's the HL, yeah, it's the Pro Tac. Here you go, this one's 1000 lumens. You can see the trees with this one. Gives you a pretty good idea what you can see. Pretty bright. Here's a comparison of those two. You can see one obviously over here, the Streamlight, the Pro Tac versus the Streamlight Macro Stream. Alright, again, this one's 1000 lumens. And then here is the Cyansky. You can see this one is much more focused, and you may not be able to tell on here. There is a pretty good defined line with this one in a very, very hot spot. So here's comparison to the Streamlight over here. You can see there's more flood. I don't know if you can tell how far it goes into the tree line or not, but this one, the Cyansky, goes significantly farther. And again, the Cyansky is 1600 lumens. This one's 1000, but the Cyansky, as you can tell, has a much brighter hot spot, which means more candela, which means it would go a lot further. So the footage I showed earlier, or maybe in here somewhere, of the deer, this Streamlight ProTac that I have on one of my ARs would not reach those deer. You might be able to see their eyes glowing or reflecting in the distance, but you wouldn't be able to see them like you could with this light right here. Again, you can see it's a very, very good hotspot. So now that you've seen some of the video footage, here's some more details. Again, 1600 lumens, which it is. It is a very, very bright light. It's actually going to be too bright to use as a, in my opinion, dedicated rifle mounted light if you're going to use it for CQB stuff, because you're going to end up kind of blinding yourself because it's very, very focused. You could do it, but just know that it's kind of hard on the eyes. Now, if you are going through a building, you know, that's kind of larger, it'd be fine. But whenever you go into a room, like if you shine this on the wall, it's kind of bright. It also doesn't give you a whole lot of flood, which I prefer, having some flood for a CQB light. It does have a 100-hour runtime. Now, I'll get to that in a second. That's with it on different modes. 600 meters, which we already talked about. It says 90,000. I believe that's Candela. Based on what I've seen, I believe that's probably correct, because most Candela, if I remember right, on Surefires and Streamlights and all the different ones, they're usually around 30 to 40,000, somewhere in there. So this one's double what is normal, maybe triple, depending on the flashlight. So I believe that. There's your 2-meter drop rating, and then there's your water rating. So on the back, this is something I like about this company, because not a whole lot of companies do this, and I appreciate the honesty and just the technical details so you can actually see which one to use it on. So the output, the turbo is 1600, the high is 800, then you got medium 230, and then the strobe is the full 1600. There's your runtime under each of those. You got your distance for how far it'll throw, and then you have the intensity, the Candela, which right here, and all of these from my testing are pretty much correct. I don't have, scientific ways to prove all this stuff, but based to my experience, I would say those are correct. Again, you got all your temperature ranges that it can go at. Here's your size right there, in case you want to look for a mount that's not theirs for whatever reason. There's your weight. And then here it has how long it'll run before it starts basically losing performance. And so you can see right there, it has a pretty good, has about 2-hour runtime on turbo, which is impressive. On the high, you got 3, medium 12, and low 100. And now the reason, and here's the battery it uses, in case you're wondering, and everything it comes with. So the reason it has such a good runtime is because of the battery itself, and the IR version right here runs off the same battery. So if you bought both of these, you'd have 2 batteries, and then you could switch out whatever you wanted. Or if you wanted to, you could carry, just take off the head on this one and then thread it on to that one, and just basically always leave this one mounted and only have to buy the 2 lights, just buy 1 mount and 1 tape switch. So that's an option. Depends on how cheap you're trying to be. Then you just have a random housing that you can't use, I guess. But so here's the battery right here. It's rechargeable. Uses basically it's not a micro USB, but it's close. It comes with a cable right here, in case you're wondering. That's what it looks like to charge it. So this is a very hefty battery. Here's all the details on it. So it does, if you look on the end, it does have these little metal spots right here, and that's, I presume, for breaking glass. It does have these kind of, raised edges right here, so you could use it as a striking tool. That's kind of, for flashlights, I guess it's better than nothing, but I wouldn't use this as a self-defense tool. The clicky tail switch on the end is positive. It works just fine. I don't have any issues with it, and it's, as you can see, it's protected, so you're not going to accidentally bump it, unlike a certain company that starts with an O, that I'm not a huge fan of their tail switches. If you guys have any questions, that's pretty much it. This is a pretty quick review. It's a really good light, especially if you want to use something in conjunction with this, which is what I plan on doing. So on my rifle, I have a Surefire. It's the Vampire series, the 600. So it's kind of a lower lumen light because it's a combo IR light. And I like having this with a QD mount that I have on it here for the IR to mount on the left-hand side where there's nothing currently. So whenever I want the ability... So when I want the ability to go long range with my IR, I have this as an option. I can just pull it out of a pouch, shove it on there. And then if I need to see something past, say 100 yards, which is about the maximum effectiveness of that Vampire, of the Surefire, then I can see farther with this. And then if I want to, I can just take the, carry the head by itself, because again, you can unscrew it. And you can just unthread that one, put this one on there, and now you have a white light if you want a white light instead of the IR light. in my opinion, I wouldn't mount both of these to the same gun. It's going to be pretty heavy. These flashlights, while they're not any heavier than this light, they're a little bit heavier than this one just because of bulk and size. And if you know, this light is no lightweight either. It's kind of heavy compared to a lot of flashlights as well, just because of its bulk. But again, this is a really good light. I like it quite a bit. And even if you don't want it for a rifle, it's a good just kind of around the house. I used it whenever we go for walks at night, which again, you've seen footage of. I like that light quite a bit. It would come in handy if you work in security or as law enforcement or something. You needed a light for, say, your truck or your patrol car or something like that. This one, kind of like if you have a Q-beam on your vehicle, which is basically a spotlight on the side of a car. This is just as bright, if not brighter, than most of the Q-beams I've used. Again, I haven't used a ton of Q-beams, but I've used a few. But that would be a good option just to kind of throw in, the little side compartment of your door. If you want to be able to roll down your window, and kind of look around and see something. Because it's easier to use one of these than it is something mounted to your vehicle. And again, the candela on this thing is just ridiculous, so you actually get a really, really good hotspot. Can't emphasize that enough. That is my favorite thing about this light. For the size, it is very, very good at throwing light. And they did a really good job with this. So anyways, again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. Helps us out. Comment down below. Give us a like. Again, if you comment down below, it really helps with the whole algorithm thing. More people find the videos, and that helps us out. So also, you can always check the links down below. They all link to my Amazon Associates page. So yes, I make like 4 cents every time, you buy something and you click. Yay, it helps me out. So I appreciate that as well. Anyways, y'all have a good one.